Hello, everyone. A very logical day to all of you. Yes, it's Friday today. So we have Saturday, Sunday, the 2 days that we need to complete whatever our pending work is. This is just a reminder for your work. Let's see what we have today in our editorial, the first editorial of the Indian Express, 24th of Feb. It- Today, what I found there was use of idioms there, right? Again, the first editorial it is, but then at least five idioms will get there, a use of a foreign word, and of course, we've got a lot of vocabulary this day. So let's see, quickly we'll go through it. 1 year later. If you remember, yesterday's heading was one border less. Yeah. So this is 1 year later. मतलब एक साल के बाद है जैसे कहानी चल रही है. This is what. Let's see now. Here, as the battle zones of Ukraine gear up for significant military escalation on the first anniversary of the Russian aggression that falls this week. So there's an anniversary also celebrated. The challenge for New Delhi is to take a fresh and hard look at its assumptions about the war. See, it's not only that we people make assumptions, it is about the governments also who are assuming so many things. So, New Delhi stands for the central government. It is to take a fresh and hard look at its assumptions about the war. Like most chancelleries in the world, chancelleries would mean the people in the topmost position, rank holders, including Washington, London, and Berlin. Now, see, these are the people, they are named as chancelleries now. Believed that Russia would prevail in a short and decisive invasion of Ukraine. They believed this. Delhi also believed the same thing. What? That it would not go on for many days. See, if you all also remember, it started when it started. People used to say, or even we used to say, ये नहीं ज़्यादा दिन नहीं चलेगा. यूक्रेन कहाँ टिकेगा रशिया के सामने? Isn't it? This is how we were seeing the things. Not only we, but the countries, the nations, the heads also were thinking about the same thing that Russia would prevail in a short and decisive invasion of Ukraine. But a year later, the government in Kiev is still standing thanks to the courageous resistance from the Ukrainian people. And there is limited prospect for ending this conflict. Limited prospect for ending this conflict would mean that this conflict is still going to go on. It is easy to point to the massive Western military support to Kiev, but no amount of weapons could have substituted for the popular will of Ukraine to defend itself. That means if the people did not want to defend themselves, no help of weaponry or arms or whatever the military help was given to them, they could not have resisted. They could not have sustained, you can say, with that form of an aggression from Russia. So it is easy to point out to the massive Western military support to Kiev, but no amount of weapons could have substituted for the popular will of Ukraine to defend itself. In any case, Western military support began to flow in only after Ukraine pushed back the initial Russian offensive. So if people say that the war is going on just because Ukraine is getting help from the West, the author clarifies this that see, it was not so. They got that help only after the people of Ukraine pushed back the initial Russian offensive. The battle for Ukraine may be a proxy fight between Russia and the West, but that can't be used to deny the legitimate right of Ukraine to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity against foreign occupation. That means Ukraine has a right to defend itself and to maintain its sovereignty or maintain its independence. Deftly walking the tightrope in New Delhi has so far helped in practical pursuit of India's interest. Practical pursuit of India's interest का मतलब होता है कि practically whatever help or whether in trade or in defense or in any other matter is needed from the Russians, India is walking on that tightrope that it can't defy those people and it can't outrightly come out, means in the open, it can't say yes or no or take one side no. So it is called that India is walking on a tightrope. That means a very precarious, a very difficult situation. What is New Delhi doing? It has helped in practical pursuit of India's interest. Now, what practical purpose? There's a small dash, and then it says, be it meeting its energy requirements to defense supplies and to have more diplomatic elbow room vis-a-vis other powers. Right? So, getting elbow room means getting in a space to say or state your own opinion. Vis-a-vis means related to other powers. So, up till now, Delhi has been walking on a tightrope in a very precarious situation, as I said earlier, taking care of the needs that it has from Russia, that is the energy requirements that it got from Russia, the defense supplies, and getting more diplomatic elbow room. Of course, Indian equities in the Russian relationship are real and significant, and there is an acceptance, even if grudging. Acceptance है, but grudging का मतलब होता है थोड़ा सा hesitant होना. Of this in other capitals. Other capitals means other countries. Right? So Moscow should know that this doesn't mean India will turn a blind eye to all Russian transgressions in Ukraine. For even from a realpolitik perspective, the Russian invasion of Ukraine casts a shadow on India's long-term interest. ठीक है इस पार्ट को हम अगर ध्यान से समझेंगे तो it will be that see New Delhi is like right now it is maintaining an equilibrium between uh, the all the situation that means whether it is on the side of Russia or it is against कुछ भी एक तरफ नहीं कर सकती है right so the problem here is that not the problem so when it is maintaining that yes it is with Russia it's getting the energy requirements fulfilled the defense supplies are also there it's getting a more diplomatic elbow room these are the three things that he said in that manner right and then of course the author says that see India is in acceptance with all this but still grudgingly उसका रिलेशनशिप है रशिया के साथ है बट ग्रजिंग अभी ग्रजिंग क्यों है दैट मीन्स अ लिटिल हेजिटेंट इन आउटराइटली प्रोक्लेमिंग एनीथिंग व्हाई बिकॉज इट कांट टर्न अ ब्लाइंड आई इसका मतलब अवॉइड करना देख के अनदेखा कर लेना दैट इज कॉल्ड टू टर्न अ ब्लाइंड आई टू व्हाट to all the Russian transgressions for Ukraine in Ukraine. That means whatever Russia is like being hostile towards Ukraine or violating the war norms, you can say, that is transgression, right? Whatever Russia is doing, it is not right according to the war torn areas also. But then India, if it thinks from a real politic perspective, the politics को भी ध्यान में रखते हैं, तो it is a very strategic problem here because whatever Russia is doing is raising a question on India's long-term interest, or it might be create a little shadow, say cast a shadow कहते हैं, cast a doubt, cast a shadow on India's long-term interest. That means India को सोचना पड़ेगा ध्यान से कि आखिर वो करे क्या. That means whatever Russia is doing, whether it is going to impact India in the long term or no, that is the point. So one particular stand, one particular side is to be taken. Here comes the major points of this paragraph. It's a challenge for New Delhi. One thing, there is limited prospect for ending this conflict. That means in near future, the end of this war is not to be seen. इसका मतलब अभी और थोड़ा सा चलने वाला है. If that is the case, so, this point was that it can't deny the legitimate right of Ukraine to defend its sovereignty. That means Ukraine was right in facing or confronting Russia. Fine. Why? Because, of course, you have to protect or defend your sovereignty. Now, this point here, in the end, it says that it doesn't mean that India will turn a blind eye. So, whatever Russia is doing in Ukraine, India can't just turn a blind eye. Means India can't just close the eyes to that. कि ठीक है हमने देखा ही नहीं है वो ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हैं ठीक है क्यों क्योंकि दिल्ली को अपनी आंखें खोल के देखना चाहिए इस हिसाब से कि जो भी रशिया यूक्रेन में कर रहे हैं व्हाट एंड what impact it is going to have on the Russia India relations. So India has to be very cautious or circumspect about it. Moscow may have its reasons to call it a special military operation, but New Delhi doesn't need to fudge that basic question, right? To fudge, now from this sentence only you can understand it is to avoid. ठीक है मतलब डायरेक्ट आंसर नहीं देना और उससे बचना तो अगर मॉस्को इसे स्पेशल मिलिट्री ऑपरेशन बोलती है 1 साल तक का जो चल रहा है, न्यू दिल्ली can't avoid this question. Ironically, it was the Tsar Nicholas II of Russia who had called the first Hague Convention of 1899 that began the codification of the laws of war and norms of Pacific settlement of disputes between nations. Pacific, if you have understood this, that we have done this word like pacify or placating. So Pacific का मतलब होता है peacemaking. That Russia can disregard these rules sets a disturbing precedent. If Russia gets away with the invasion of Ukraine, it would encourage other revisionist powers to seize the territory of their neighbors through use of force. Like Russia in Europe, China has multiple territorial disputes on land and maritime frontiers, and its protracted standoff with India on the line of actual control remains deadlocked. Equally consequential for India is the deepening alliance between Russia and China. Equally consequential, we have done this word just 2 or 3 days back only. Consequential is something that is of relevance, it is something of importance, strategic importance. So, क्या important है that China and Russia are becoming close allies, right? This poses a challenge to India's interests amidst the sharpening contradictions between New Delhi and Beijing. That means China and India are going against each other on many things, but China and Russia are coming towards each other. ये चाइना और इंडिया है जो कि अलग अलग डायरेक्शन में जा रहे हैं, लेकिन ये चाइना और रशिया है जो एक दूसरे की डायरेक्शन में आ रहे हैं. ये प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करेगा. Right? So that means the second paragraph is actually giving you the reasons of why New Delhi has to keep its eyes open. Here, Delhi doesn't need to fudge that basic question. And if Russia gets away with the invasion of Ukraine, it would encourage other revisionist powers to seize the territory. That means what? This gave an example of China, that China का भी अपने आसपास के countries के साथ land और territories के साथ problem चल रहा है, तो China also will do the same. What Russia is trying to do is seize the neighbors. So if Russia gets away with this, China will be on its tail. That means China will do likewise. As the war enters its second year, the tightrope walk will get tighter. New Delhi needs to be constantly vigilant. Vigilant is a word that we did, I think so, yesterday or day before yesterday, when we were talking about the policing the police. If you remember that, we have done this vigilance. So keeping a watch on. You have to be watchful, constantly watchful, vigilant on the possible need to recalibrate its relationship with Moscow and at the same time ensure that its interests are protected. Right? So they need to think twice, they need to think or rethink about their relationship with Russia. The G20 this year and the run up to it create a space and many opportunities to articulate and fine tune this stand. That is the only way to better prepare for the massive geopolitical consequences of this war. That means this is what India or Delhi has to do now. It needs to recalibrate its relationship. That means recalibrate means to calculate, you can say, the easiest one, right? So it has to check its relationship and renew, you can say, but with that is called articulation. With many opportunities to articulate, the relationship भी फिर से नया बनाना पड़ेगा, renew करना पड़ेगा. And keeping its consequences. And one more thing was there here, ensuring that its interests are protected. Right. So here needs to be constantly vigilant. That was one point. Recalibrate its relationship, the other point, and keeping your interests protected, the major point. And then, of course, that's the only way to prepare. So, 3 paragraphs, all 3 points we have understood. Coming to the main idea here. So, Delhi's tightrope work on the Russian Ukraine war will get tighter. The challenge is to be nimble and yet put the foot down. So, put the foot down was in the heading. That means to stay something very vehemently, strongly. So you can say strongly stating. मतलब अपनी बात में दम हो तो हमें उसे very strongly we need to put it, right? And of course, if you have to be nimble means you have to be agile, but still very firm. Putting the foot down is to be firm, and being nimble is to be agile and prompt, you can say. Active, agile, prompt. So you have to be active and you have to be firm. This is what is required of New Delhi to do now. Coming to the words here. Nimble, agile, deft. I give you the word agile and prompt. You can write the word deft also, right? As nimble as a squirrel. ठीक है, बहुत फटाफट इधर से उधर घूम जाती है, वो nimble कहेंगे. Escalation, nimble with in the dance steps also, right? He was very nimble. That means very quick dance. Escalation, of course, you know, escalate, escalator is to increase appreciation. Now, if it is increasing, it is a boom, and it is also called appreciation. Aggression, of course, you all know, anger होता है, hostility होता है, एक और अच्छा word है bellicosity, या एक और इसी से related word है belligerent. You can note this down quickly. And yes, do not forget Saturday Sunday quiz is there. Sunday. Chancelleries are the people holding the ranks or offices. Sovereignty, of course, you know, autonomy, independence, but sovereignty का meaning control, power, dominance भी होता है. तो हमें खुद का अगर कंट्रोल और पावर होता है तो हम उसे सॉवरेन कहते हैं, तो वी बिकम सॉवरेन नेशन. Deftly is cleverly, adroitly, skillfully. So if you know deftly, clever and skillful is easy. You can write down adroitly. Those who don't know the simple meaning of deft, तो वो भी लिखेंगे, और जो ये better वाला word दे रही हूँ वो भी लिखेंगे. And I'll repeat that do not think कि हम ये इतने सारे notes तो लिख देते हैं, words लिख लेते हैं, याद नहीं होते. हमें याद करने नहीं हैं words. What we do is you only revise them every Saturday, Sunday, and that is what I tell you. So out of these questions, even if half you remember, even if 30% you remember, you're still improving. Right? So, grudging. Grudging is unwilling, and unwilling will be hesitant. I gave you in the discussion only, and reluctant. Deadlock, of course, you can understand gridlocked or standstill. Deadlock. Protracted, expanded, extended, prolonged. प्रो का मतलब होता है फ्यूचर में, तो किसी भी चीज को एक अननेसेसरी एक्सटेंडेड फॉर्मेशन आ जाएगा तो प्रोट्रैक्टेड स्पीच होती है. दैट हैज टू डू विद द लेंथ. सो एक्सटेंडेड और प्रोलॉन्ग्ड. I was telling you that we have got a good set of words today. Pacific, comforting, appeasing, placatory, if you remember, right? To give elbow room to something means inner space to move. Now, inner space to move would mean these are idioms. So, literally, if you say, if you keep your hand this way, right, if you can see my elbow, it is this much space, at least 1.5 foot space here and this side also. So, this much space, if you get, you are easily able to turn around. So, that is to give elbow room to somebody. Put the foot down, मतलब इतने जोर से अपना पाँव रखो, तो ये literal meaning हुआ. Put the foot down. So, to state something very strongly and firmly would be the meaning of it. Vis-a-vis nature, ये बहुत बार पढ़ा है, man vis-a-vis nature. ठीक है, तो related to, that will be the meaning. Cast a shadow is have a doubt, turn a blind eye, not to notice something. Vigilant, we have done vigilant officers to be watchful, to be heedful, to be careful. And yes, we have the word vary. And you have another word that is chary. We've done in the class, I think so. To fudge. It is avoid giving a clear solution. To fudge around, usko kahenge. Transgression is indiscretion, misbehavior, violation, breach. ये भी कर सकते हो. ट्रांसग्रेशन का मीनिंग होता है. ग्रेस मीन्स टू गो और स्टेप. और ट्रांस का मतलब होता है एक जगह से दूसरी जगह. तो ट्रांसग्रेशन हो जाता है जो बिहेवियर होना चाहिए वो नहीं है, तो मिसबिहेवियर. Otherwise, it means violation, breach. A tightrope walk is to deal with a difficult situation. Recalibrate is to adjust, to amend, to make fit. उसकी measurements फिर से कर देना तो वो recalibrate होता है. ठीक है, कैलिबर यानी मेजरमेंट. तो रिकैलिब्रेट यानी सोच समझ के वापस से अपना जो रिलेशन है उसे फिर से फिक्स कर देना, उसके रूल्स और नॉर्म्स बना देना. दैट इज व्हाट इट वाज सेइंग, दैट इट हैज टू रिकैलिब्रेट इट्स relation or its connection with Russia. So I hope you have understood this. So that's all for today. And yes, thank you everyone. Have a logical day ahead. See you tomorrow.